Okay, so today we're gonna be replacing the steering box right here. It's not the power steering pump, it's right below the power steering pump. And to access it, if you don't have the motor out like I do, you'd have to take out the power steering pump and then you'll have access to this right here. In order to get to the gearbox, which is right down there, what we need to do is take off this power steering bracket. So what you want to do is take off the belt, and then there's several bolts holding in the bracket, and one right here, one right there, and there's one right here that's holding in the fuel lines. It has just a little bracket for the fuel lines, and then you'll want to remove that right down there on the very bottom. So there's that one with the fuel lines, and then there's one on the very bottom, and so there's 5 bolts in total to get this power steering bracket off. Right there, one behind the idler pulley, one right there, that one, and one that's under there. Hose and a clamp right there. So there's that one, and then there's the other one. And you can go through the wheel well too to get better access to those. And then there's the gearbox right there. So the problem is, here's our steering shaft. It goes into the steering box, and then it connects to the tie rods, and of course the wheels. The problem is, we got lots of play in the steering wheel, and it's kind of dangerous going down the highway and stuff. And you can see down here when I move the steering wheel that there's quite a bit of play at the steering box there. And I've seen sometimes you can adjust this, but I think they just wear out, and I think mine's just worn out. And I have the motor out right now. Doing a rebuild right now, actually, even though I just did one. Rear main seal, and there's another little camshaft seal I did. And then we're just doing the head gaskets again, even though I already did this. All the gaskets again, because it's kind of having some leaking issues. Is leaking at the gasket right here. This little 3 liter's always had some problems, but basically we're just doing a big restoration on this truck. And part of that is doing the steering box, and that's what we'll be doing today. Don't worry, even though if your motor's in, well, most likely your motor will be in, it will not affect, well, you'll have some limiting moving around and stuff, but if you have the power steering pump out, you'll be good to go. And yeah, so don't worry about that. Let's get started. Okay, so there's 2 lines, power steering lines that go into this. And we're just going to take a 5/8, and we're just going to crack them open. Ooh, a little bit on the tight side. So there's the line. Oh, we'll put a drain pan under this so it catches all the fluid. Alright, so we just slid a drain pan under there, just catch the fluid. And we'll go to our other line right here. Alright, so we got this cracked open. And we're just going to take our marker and label this hose right here so we know it's the top one. Okay, now we're going to unbolt steering shaft right here. Okay, so now for the drive shaft, we're just going to get our 1/2 inch. Get her on there. And we're going to take our breaker bar. This is a 1/2 inch with an adapter. And we're just gonna crack it. We probably don't need to take this out all the way, but we'll just go ahead anyway. Now, this is gonna be a little bit tricky. We have this pitman arm that we're gonna have to unbolt, and it's gonna be a pretty big nut. We'll get under there and take a look. Alright, so now for this pitman arm. There's one big nut right here. I couldn't get a socket that was big enough, so we're just gonna use this crescent wrench, put it on, and hope for the best. Yep, so we're just gonna hit her with the torch for a good minute, and then hopefully it'll come. Alright, so with some good leverage and a little bit of heat, I got it. Finally got this stupid pitman arm off. Had to go get a puller. Jeez. Had to go get a pitman arm puller. This little clamp U thing. And I heated it up a bunch of times, the spline, the arm, and then put some Freol PB Blaster in there. Yeah, it was a little chore. And then I started hitting it with the hammer, and the hammer really was working. So that's good, the impact. So if you aren't, so we're just gonna leave our arm right there. And I made a mark to help us align it when we're done. But that, I don't think will really help us because we're replacing the blocks. And that's our, you know, alignment tool. So we'll take on, our box is ready to be pulled now. Steering box, and we'll put the new one in. Alright, so grab your breaker bar and a little extension. And it's a 5/8 on these bolts. And we'll just crank them loose. Alright, so here's our new gearbox, and it said in the manual, do not move the splines because they're already matched up, geared, or whatever. So all we need to do is make sure that our steering wheel is straight on center, and yeah, hook it back up, make sure the wheels are straight, I guess. Pretty straight. And basically it was talking about you need to flush the system before, but since mine's all out, I don't need to do that, but better read the manual when you get yours, and refer to the instructions, how to bleed it and stuff. But since I have my whole system out, it doesn't matter. It'll just be getting bled and flushed anyway. And then what we'll need to do when we put it all back together is just fill it up and bleed it, which should be pretty simple. So let's start putting it back together. Alright, so we got the steering box in, and we got the steering shaft connected. Put a little anti-seize on there. It actually aligned really nicely, the pitman shaft to the gearbox. I just straightened up the wheels, just kind of eyeballed them, and then it just, since it was already pre-lined up, I just slid it on there after I mounted it, after I bolted the box in, and then I made sure my steering wheel was straight. Alright, so now we're just going to put our lines back in. That one that we marked with orange marker was our top one. Okay, so it's all put back together. There is our gearbox down there that we replaced. And here is the power steering pump. So, what I did, so before starting, what you want to do is fill up your power steering fluid in here. And if you flushed it, then it's going to be empty, so you want to put quite a bit in it, because it's just going to go down pretty fast. Then what you want to do is put a funnel right here, and then you want to crank her up, start it up, and while it's going to drain out, because it has to fill all the pipes and stuff, you're going to top it off. Just keep topping it off until it's about at the cold mark. And then what you're going to do is lift it up off the ground, the front wheels, and you're going to turn the steering wheel lock to lock. When you get to the lock, you're going to kind of bounce it a few times, and then when you're going to just rotate it to the left and then kind of bounce it a few times there, and do that a couple, turning lock to lock a few times each time, watching your fluid level. And that's what I did. And we got good fuel level now, as you can see. And everything seems to be working pretty good. Pretty simple, and you can do it definitely if you just have to take out the power steering pump bracket here, and then you'll have plenty of access to it. And yeah, it's no problem. Alright, so thanks for watching this video on the 1997 Ford Ranger. If you like this video, subscribe to Fish and Fix. And yeah, that concludes this video.